Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. And we're going to return to a brewery that you've seen me review a good number of beers from before. And these guys have really made themselves known for their kind of New England hazy type IPAs. They've got a few kind of sour beers coming out now, and they also do some very nice imperial stouts in my experience as well. But this is a brewery that I always enjoy reviewing from, and we do have quite a quirky beer to look at from them today. So for this one we are going to go to the Gamlestaden area of the city, and we're having a look at another beer from Spike Brewery. So this one is called the Spike Monopoly. It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and it's another New England hazy style IPA, this one. From what I understand, this beer has been described as the house beer of Systembolaget, and this one isn't going to be available anywhere else. This one is going to be available exclusively in Systembolaget, and they were talking about how this is the house IPA of Systembolaget actually, so maybe this is one that they are going to recommend. Maybe they're going to do a few different beer styles, and each brewery is going to kind of contribute to each one of these kind of things. So yeah, this one should be really quite interesting. I've heard that this is a very good beer. It seems to be very highly rated, and we've had some really nice beers from these guys in the past. The last beer that I had from these guys was the Black is Beautiful, which was a really nice kind of New England type black IPA, really oaty and smooth one actually, and I really enjoyed that. And you know, I think I've done somewhere in the region of maybe 15 or so beer reviews from these guys, but a very good brewery in my opinion, and definitely one that you want to check out if you are interested in Swedish craft beer and the Gothenburg beer scene. There's a lot of very good breweries up there in Gothenburg actually that are worth checking out. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. Definitely nice to return to Spike Brewery. Incidentally, this beer was released on the 1st of October 2020 as part of the Lokal Småskaligt assortment for that month. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Spike Brewery before, and like I said, you will no doubt see more from these guys in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Spike Brewery once again. So, Spike Brewery, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Gothenburg, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, up on the west coast, and the company was founded back in 2014 by Mats Westberg, Marcus Axberg and Martin Johansson. So all three had previously worked in the IT industry, and now it's only Mats and Marcus that are still active in the company, and they've also got David de Sursi now, who joined the company and became the CEO, and he's been the one who's really kind of driving the company to grow over the last little while. But the brewer is Bernardo Hava. He comes from Brazil, and he trained in brewing at VLB Berlin. Very talented brewer, and very highly regarded in Gothenburg from what I understand, but he joined the company back in 2017. But at the moment these guys are producing around 250,000 litres of beer per year, and about 25% of their total volume is used for contract brewing other breweries' beers. So quite a few other breweries use the Spike Brewery as their kind of base of operations. But the brewery itself can be found in the Gamlestaden area in an old slaughterhouse. If you go in to their tap room and stuff, you can see all the bullet holes and stuff on the walls, which is kind of quite funny. If you are interested to see that, you can check out my out and about video that I did at the Spike Brewing tap room. It'd be awesome if these guys opened up like a full bar in the city, or opened the tap room up a little bit more regularly actually, because it is actually really quite nice. I think it's quite cool to be in there and see the brewery and things like that. So yeah, check out my out and about video for yourself and see what you think. But the tap room opens up every Saturday. It also serves food sometimes as well, from what I understand, and at the moment the company are looking at opportunities to build their own brewery. But as of October 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 90 different types of beer. They are fairly prolific. They do release 1 or 2 different beers every month through the Lokal Småskaligt, and you will see me review a sour beer from these guys a little bit later. And if I remember correctly, that is the first sour beer they've released through Systembolaget actually. So that's going to be a very interesting one, and I hope that you guys will enjoy my take on that as well. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Spike Brewery for the moment. These guys are one of the breweries that I always keep an eye out for when I'm doing my Lokale Småskalig list every month. So yeah, I would recommend that you check out these guys. If you get the chance to try one of the beers from the business series, those are some very, very nice hazy New England IPAs. The last one that I had was the Monkey Business, which was brewed in collaboration with two breweries from Brazil actually, and there's a very vibrant craft beer scene down in Brazil, and obviously that was Bernardo Hava's connections, I think, that brought in those guys. But yeah, like I say, very, very well respected member of the Gothenburg craft beer sector, and one that I would highly recommend that you check out. It's difficult to pick my favourite beer from these guys because all of them have been pretty damn solid actually. So I would recommend you try. I think it would be a safe bet to say try one of the business series beers. Those are always very, very nice. But yeah, let's see how we get on with the actual beer then. So if you want to learn more about the brewery, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's have a little look at this one and see what it's like. I'm very curious about this, I have to say. So yeah, as I told you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.5% New England IPA. It's supposed to be a really, really good one actually. And as I said, they've been describing this as the house beer of, they're saying the official house beer. And I've been hearing people saying that this is supposed to be the house IPA of Systembolaget. Now, the one thing that comes as a problem when you speak a language as a second language, you never know whether it's sarcasm or whether it is actually true. So I'm honestly not sure about this, whether this beer is properly going to be considered the Systembolaget house IPA. And it would be quite cool if they had something like that. It would be quite cool for there to be the Systembolaget house range, if you like, and you know, they had a different style of beer from a number of the different the different breweries around the country actually. That would be really cool. So yeah, I'm curious to see whether that is true or not. But as I said to you, 6.5% New England IPA, this one. It says a full-blooded hazy IPA available exclusively at Sweden's omnipotent craft beer supplier. And this one contains Mosaic, Citra and Cashmere, so it should be a pretty interesting one actually. Mosaic, as we know, lovely big and tangerine orangey. Citra is a kind of juicy mango with a lot of different complexities, and Cashmere's got a lot of melon and lemon limes in it actually. It's a really kind of interesting one, that. So yeah, this one I think should be a very, very interesting beer. It's double dry hopped, 6.5% ABV, so it should be really quite nice. So yeah, nice artwork on this one, a little bit different from what you'd normally expect from Spike Brewery, but like I say, this one I think is a special beer. But there you can see the Spike Brewery symbol down at the bottom of the can. 330 millilitres. I can't remember exactly what I paid for this, maybe about either 35 or 40 Swedish kroners, something like that. But yeah, let's get it out and we'll get on with the taste, and then I'm very curious to see what this one has in store for us. So let's get it out and into the glass. Yes, there we go. That looks pretty damn nice, I have to say. It does look good. So yeah, let me maybe just need to put a bottle cap under this, because I see that the camera, this is the shiny surface of this one is reflecting off the camera. Sometimes happens with these beers, so bottle cap underneath it, that seems to do the trick. But yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from a New England IPA, this one's poured a lovely bright hazy yellow colour. I always use the fruit juices as a frame of reference when talking about New England IPAs, so for me this one comes across as kind of like a mango juice, to be honest with you. It's got a lovely kind of almost mango juice, rich kind of yellowy tint to it. You can see that the beer poured with about a 1/3 finger of a frothy white head. That is just gradually fading away to be a very thin foamy layer, and I guess eventually it will be just a kind of foamy ring around the edge of the glass. I would describe this one as being quite creamy. I would describe it as being quite a creamy coloured ring rather than perfect white. But yeah, it looks pretty nice. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. And I would say this isn't the soupiest and gloopiest of New England IPAs that I've come across. But as I've told you in other reviews, as you go up the alcohol scale with this style, you get more oats, you get more wheat, and it just gets gradually thicker and soupier and gloopier. But I have seen 6.5%ers that are considerably more soupy and gloopy than this one, but that doesn't particularly matter. It's all about the actual flavour of the beer itself. So before we get on to that, let's have a closer look at the aroma, but this one, nothing particularly surprising about the beer in terms of its appearance. So aroma time for this one, let's have a look at that. Ooh, that does smell quite nice. It actually comes across, my first impression of this one is that it comes across as quite smooth but also quite crisp at the same time. I think this one's going to be quite an interesting beer to review. So yeah, straight away with this one, you can smell that the malt base is quite well balanced. You can smell the kind of smooth white bready base to it. It does have a little bit of a wheaty kind of grainy bitiness at the back of the nose. If you take it in quite deeply, you can really smell a little bit of that wheaty kind of bitiness to it. You get a little bit of a smoother oaty character further forward on the nose. There is a little touch of a kind of biscuity sweetness to this one, but not overly much. I find this IPA to be a little bit more... It really is more of a kind of bready leaning one, to be honest, but at the same time that bready character is quite smooth. It almost has a little bit of a kind of bread crusty quality as well. So like I say, back of the nose, definitely a little bit wheaty, and the wheat does have a little touch of pungency and bitiness to it. You can smell the smoother white bread underneath and the more kind of creamy oaty notes, and maybe just a little bit of a biscuity sweetness, or maybe even a little touch of that kind of Werther's Originally butter candy sort of thing. There is just a little touch of sweetness here in the malt base of this one. But yeah, very straight shooting malt base for me, and I guess that's when this is supposed to be, if it is indeed supposed to be the kind of house IPA of Systembolaget, you want a beer to just be kind of nice and smooth. You don't want it to be too mental, you don't want it to be too crazy, you want it to be a nice, drinkable and juicy example of the style actually. So I think I have an idea of what they might be going for with this one. They want it to be balanced between the oats and the wheat and have a little bit of sweetness in it to really show the full kind of spectrum, if you like, of what this style can offer. And I've found the New England IPAs, they have been getting a little bit sweeter in recent times in Scandinavia. A bit more of that Werther's Original butter candy sort of thing has been gradually coming into the style over the last year or so. But yeah, the malty side of this one is pretty nice actually, and I think the more I smell of it, the more it does start to lean a little bit towards the wheaty side of things. So yeah, it comes across pretty nicely. Other than that, I don't think there's too much to report on the malty side of things. It comes across as really nice and balanced. So on the hoppy side of the beer, you do get a little touch of an earthiness in this one. You can pick out a nice kind of floral quality. There's a bit of grassiness in there as well, but overall, I mean, I would describe this beer, it's quite well balanced in the green side of things. It does have a wee bit more of a kind of floral pungency to it. It does have a nice little bit of aromaticity, but you do get a little bit of a lighter grassiness, and the earthiness also just kind of helps bring it back as well. The earthiness, I think, is most likely to come from the Mosaic, and I would guess that they probably have some kind of bittering hop in here, and the hops that I've mentioned to you earlier are, I would guess that they are dry hops actually. So yeah, the aroma that comes out of this is really quite nice in that regard. The fruits come across as really juicy and things, so let's pay special attention to that now. But overall, the green side of the hop's quite aromatic, but a nice little bit of a grassy balance to it as well, and the grassiness suits the citrusy side of the beer quite well actually. So yeah, on the fruity side of things, you can smell the melon giving this beer a little bit of a backbone. Yeah, you can really smell a bit of that melony quality from the cashmere in there. But yeah, on the tropical side of things, there's a wee bit of a passion fruity pungency. That will be the citra that's giving it that. You've got a good little bit of an oily orangey note from the Mosaic as well. But I think the mango and the tangerine are almost kind of in competition a little bit. It's, you know, cashmere is a hell of a pungent hop actually. So yeah, there's a good bit of melon to this one, some nice oily limes as well. Those are kind of mixing in with the tangerine a little bit too. And on the front tip of the nose, you almost get just a little bit of that kind of lemony, zesty kind of quality that you would also expect from cashmere. Like I say, cashmere, melons, lemon, lime, that's what you're going to get from it. And cashmere, I've noticed, it is becoming a little bit more popular in recent times, I have to say, but for good reason. I've had some really good experiences with that in the past. Green Gold Brewing from Slovenia, they use that hop quite readily. I think they grow a lot of it down there. The Roynik Hop Farm, which is one of the biggest hop farms in Europe, incidentally. So yeah, I wonder if the Cashmere in this one is coming from Slovenia. Actually, I'd be very curious to know that. But yeah, take a little bit of time to take a look at the aroma of this beer. It's really nicely done, very nicely balanced, and I think it works pretty damn well actually. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one and see how we go on. So this one is called the Spike Monopoly, a 6.5% New England IPA from Spike Brewery in Gamlestaden in Gothenburg, on the west coast of Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, and do let me know in the comment section below if this is supposed to be the Systembolaget House IPA. Clear up my Swedish misunderstanding. But yeah, cheers. Oh yeah, I'm going to say straight away, that's really nice. Thumbs up to Spike Brewery for this straight away. That really just comes in, and it's really good. Could this may well be one of the best IPAs I've had from Spike. I'm going to say that. As I always say, take that with that statement with a pinch of salt. You guys might disagree, but this one, it really just, sometimes you get beers where you're just like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want, and this one I think is really nice. If you like a nice kind of citrusy leaning New England IPA, if you like a more kind of lemon limey type one, this one really is going to tick the boxes for you. It was one of the Gamma Brewing beers that I had recently that was quite like that as well, and it just ticked all the boxes that I want from it. I can't remember the name of it now. I've had so many Gamma beers over the last little while, but this one I have to say is very, very nicely done. So thumbs up to Spike Brewery once again for this. So yeah, very nicely balanced beer. It's got everything that you would want from the style, which is, you know, kind of what you would expect from a house IPA. So yeah. So yeah, the malt base in this one comes across really nicely as well. It's got a lovely juiciness to that citrusy side of it, and it's got a very smooth malty base, like I said. So let's try and break down the flavour of this one then and see how we go. Straight away with this beer, in the middle third of your palate and the back third of your tongue, you get that nice kind of white bready base. When you go towards the back third of your palate, it's got a little bit of a more kind of bitey, wheaty kind of thing, which is really nice. You can feel that the wheaty notes just kind of thicken up a little bit. You can feel that it just it thickens up a little bit on the back third of your tongue. There's a few bitey, almost slightly spicy notes from the wheat, but those are quite minimal. I think on the remainder of the back third of your palate, sorry, the wheat comes across as actually really quite smooth, and I certainly like how that goes together. So yeah. Yeah, the malty side of this beer I think is really quite nicely done. So yeah, the wheat comes across and it's really nicely balanced. The wheat isn't too bitey. Sometimes, you know, it can affect the balance of the beer a little bit, but the wheat in this one comes across really nice and smooth. And when you move into the middle third of your palate, you can feel it makes a really nice transition. That's where you really notice the smooth side of the wheat in this one. But yeah, as you move into that middle third of your palate, you can feel the kind of thickness of the beer just goes down a little bit. You can feel the nice kind of bready base to the beer. There's a good little bit of oaty creaminess to this one there as well. I think the oats start to shine a little bit more in this beer the further that you go into the aftertaste. So the wheat for me is quite prominent early on, but then it's the oats a little bit later. In the very centre of your palate, you do get a little bit of a kind of butter candy type note out of this one, a little bit of that sort of Werther's Original type flavour, which is quite nice. There's maybe a little touch of a McVitie's Digestive Biscuit in there, but I think the oats and the wheat are kind of working together to make it really, you know, to make it really quite kind of just smooth. I mean, it's a lovely smooth malt base, this one, for me. I really like how it goes together. So yeah, this one kind of has everything that I would want from a New England IPA, but at the same time, this isn't the thickest and creamiest of malt bases that you're going to come across in this style category. It's very well balanced. You've got a bit of breadiness, you've got the smoothness from the oats, which just smoothens everything out, and you've just got a wee touch of that bitey, wheaty note in there, and you've got a little bit of that slightly I shouldn't say butterscotch because that's diacetone, that's bad, but it does have a wee bit of that kind of butter candy type flavour to it. in the very centre of your palate too. So really nice malt base on this one. I like that. For me, as you'll know if you've watched the channel, a good malt base can make or break a beer, in my opinion. But yeah, hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, you do have a little bit of earthiness coming out of this one. As you move further forward along the side of the palate, you can feel it does get gradually more kind of floral and aromatic. I do wonder what the bittering hop in this one is, if it's a bit of Columbus or something like that, because the beer does have a wee touch of spiciness to it, but it really becomes more aromatic the further that you go into the aftertaste. You can really feel that kind of coming off the side of the side of the palate there. But yeah, the earthiness there will be coming from the mosaic. All of the hops in this are about 13-14% alpha acid, so they will all contribute to this a little bit. But as you go round the front curve of the palate, the beer is distinctly lighter and more grassy, and I think that really works well with the sort of citrusy vibe that this beer has going on. The fruity side of this beer for me is more kind of lemon limey type citrusy than it is tropical, but it does have a wee bit of tropical note in the background, in my opinion. But yeah, lovely fruity character from this one. It's not crazy bitter either, actually. Yeah, I find this one really quite smooth. But yeah, in terms of that fruity side of things then, so if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, where you get the nice oily bubble, the juicy fruity esters rolling their way out of the beer, you do get a little bit of passion fruit on it, but it's quite a bright passion fruit actually. It's not overly dark and pungent as you can sometimes get, but very quickly it becomes more of a kind of juicy mango, and you start to get the softer notes from the citra as well, the apricots, the papayas and things like that. That becomes really apparent early on. Then, as you move further forward, you can feel the lime from the cashmere and the tangerine from the mosaic. They're sort of working together, to be honest, and they give you a lovely oily, citrusy combination at the front of the beer. Underneath that, you will get a little bit of the melon note, but the melon in this one, I think, is not quite as prominent as I've had in other beers that I've used cashmere. So that's quite an interesting point to make about this one for sure. I think the melon that you can normally get from cashmere for me is not quite as prominent in this one. But as you move further forward onto the very tip of your tongue, you do get a little bit of that lemony, zesty kind of quality there, mixing with all the grassy side of the beer. But it's got a lovely oily side to it on the front kind of half of that front third of your palate, and I really like that about this beer. The fruity side of this one for me, pardon me, comes across really nicely. And I have noticed these lemon limey leaning IPAs have really struck a chord with me recently. I think mosaic and cashmere for me is a very interesting combination. I think the tangerine oranges and the sort of lemon lime melon combination works very well actually. So this one's got a lovely oily fruity character to it, and you get a wee bit of the wee bit of tropical note you get from the citra on this one really kind of backs it up actually. But yeah, the other thing to note in this beer is that the citra and the mosaic are cryo, so they're hop oils rather than kind of full flowers and things, so that means that those flavours do come out just a little touch more oily, at least in my experience. So yeah, lovely smooth New England IPA, this one. Lovely juicy oily fruitiness, smooth malt base for me with just a little touch of wheaty bitiness at the back, and quite floral and aromatic on the side of the palate. But I really like the flavour profile of this one. It gets a big thumbs up from me. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would describe this beer as being it's definitely mid-bodied. It's right in the middle of the spectrum. The carbonation is very smooth. The mouthfeel overall for me, it does have a degree of oiliness to it, which I think suits the citrusy edge that the beer has, but otherwise it is very smooth in the kind of middle of your palate too. I would definitely say that about it. In terms of hoppy bitterness, what would we say with this one? I don't find this one too bitter, to be honest. I think it's maybe 40-ish IBUs. I find this one really quite smooth, in honesty, and I think it's very nice. This is quite a, I think this is about 40 IBUs at the most, to be honest with you. It does have a nice little bit of aromaticity, and the floral aromaticity and bitterness does build slightly into the aftertaste, but I would be surprised if this one's over 40 IBUs. But yeah, nice little bit of bitterness there. Like I said, the malt base is quite smooth. You've got a bit of oaty creaminess to it, and you've also got a little bit of the wheaty bitiness. But overall, for me, it's quite smooth. Little degree of sweetness in there. The fruitiness is quite oily. Little bit of tropical fruit. Wee touch of the more pungent tropical fruit in there. But really, quite an oily leaning citrusy beer. The tangerines, the lemons, the limes, and the melons in this. But yeah, lovely beer this one, and I think it's another great one from Spike Brewery. I'm not surprised because I've had very good beers from these guys in the past. And if this is going to be the house IPA for Systembolaget, then yeah, I hope they do a house West Coast IPA as well. I think that would be a really nice thing for them to do as well. Not just the New England IPAs, make sure you do a black IPA and a West Coast IPA as well. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Very impressed with this beer, and I would recommend that you check this one out. Potentially one of my favourite IPAs that I've had from Spike Brewery, along with the Monkey Business. It does actually remind me of the Monkey Business quite a bit, in fairness. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Spike Brewery. We will return to these guys fairly soon. I do have one of their sour beers to review for you, and that'll be my first sour that I've reviewed from these guys on the channel, which is quite exciting. But do make sure you check out my out and about video that I did at their tap room. Go and visit it if you find yourself in Gothenburg on a Saturday, and yeah, you will see more reviews from these guys very soon. But check out this beer in the meantime, the Spike Monopoly 6.5% New England IPA from Spike Brewery at the Slakthuset in Gamlestaden in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden. Definitely worth checking out this one. Lovely, kind of oily, citrusy, and very, very smooth malty IPA this one. Slange, skål, cheers, catch you guys soon, and make sure you check out Spike Brewery. Really impressive IPA and stout and other kind of brewery. Very good stuff these days. Slange, skål, cheers. Thanks for watching.